We are going to spend about 1.7 billion on this current program, probably about 2.5 billion in total over the next 4 years. And if we don't do things differently, we're going to fail. We're not going to get it done. And without your help, it'll just be it'll be aspirations, but it won't become reality. And for those of you at the back of the room, you probably can't see the slide, but there's words like inflexible, difficult, risk, long process. I don't know if those are any words that might come to mind when you think about us. If they are words that come to mind, that's good, because we want to address them this morning. So I'm here with my team, and we need to spend this money because we need to get this job done. And it's a really competitive market out there, clearly. And if we don't do things differently, we're not going to be able to attract you to partner with us. And you may have heard that before, you may not, but between Larry, myself, Brian, and some of the rest of the team, we'd like to hope over this morning that we can say we're trying to do things differently, because we've got an ambitious program. Now, actions speak louder than words. But let me just give you a few bit of words. I was going to share a little bit on who I am, and a little bit on who the team are, or what we're doing exactly at Dublin Airport. So just a little bit about me. I won't know many of you. I'm from Wicklow, but I've spent my entire career abroad, and I only came back to DAA about 1.5 years ago. Brought up in a small village near Wicklow, lived on a farm, and was always around aviation. My father was a pilot, so I spent my entire youth around planes. And in fact, as a hobby, he used to organize air rallies, and he had some land. And you probably can't see it down there, but this is just a field full of planes, and they used to get together. This is in the 70s, and people used to race planes. It was absolutely lethal, and you used to fly around pylons, and they were cross-country, and somebody would stand up looking through a pylon, and if your wings crossed over the imaginary point, you were docked, but lots of people would fly low. Anyway, it was absolutely lethal, and people were getting killed all the time, and eventually, then oil prices started to rise. Nobody could afford to do it. It was too dangerous. That was the end of that. But I was always brought up around planes, and as a picture of me, you won't be able to see it at the back, but I've sort of got my thumb stuck in my mouth. Fortunately, I don't have that habit anymore. But that was always around planes. And then when I was about 21, I got my own pilot's license. So I've always been in this world, but I've only recently sort of started working in this world. So those of you of my generation, I left the country at the end of the 80s, well, the very beginning of the 90s actually. Unemployment, whatever, it was 18.5% back then. And probably, I'm sure a lot of you in this room of my age also emigrated and went abroad. And actually went abroad for 25 years and worked for 4 different companies, principally in retailing. So I started my career off in the Far East, in supermarkets. And then I moved to Walmart and spent 7 years with Walmart. And then I came and joined the Westons, who own Brown Thomas, amongst other things, over here in Ireland. And then subsequently I spent 5 years with Morrisons in the UK, which is a retailer over there. So relatively capital intense industries, having to do a lot of construction, but obviously not of the scale of what we're doing at DAA. But anyway, I did that for 25 years. I have a Dublin wife, and I've got 3 kids. One was born in, to give you an idea of where we lived, one was born in Brazil, one was born in Germany, and one was born in Canada. And my wife said, that's it, we're going home. So I got the opportunity in 2017 to join DAA. Given the aviation background, this is the job I'd always wanted, so I was thrilled to come back here. And I've been really enjoying getting to know the business. So let me tell you a little bit about the business. You're obviously all fairly familiar with Dublin Airport. I would have thought all of you are traveling in and out of that regularly. But just some sort of facts and figures just on the business. So we're a global business. We operate in 12 countries. And essentially we have two businesses. We have an airport business and we have a retail business. The retail business is the duty-free business. And we started basically duty-free back in, well, it was the late 40s, wasn't it, Larry, in Shannon. So we've got a strong duty-free business. Our turnover of our duty-free business is about €1 billion. And as I said, we work in 12 countries, some interesting countries. We're in Cyprus, but we're also in Qatar, we're in Riyadh, we're in Beirut, so some tough markets. And the retail sector is a challenging sector, a lot of disruption going on, as you can imagine with the internet, but it's a good solid business. So that's our retail business. Our airport business is the sort of the foundation of what we do, and within that, Dublin Airport is the biggest airport, but we actually operate or invest in 6 airports. So Dublin and Cork, we invested in Dusseldorf, a couple of investments in Cyprus and in Riyadh, where we run their domestic terminal there. In all, in our airport business, we handle about 80 million passengers a year. So 80 million puts us in the sort of the Super League. So if you think about Heathrow, we would do slightly more passengers than Heathrow if you combined all our different airports. So we're a significant business. But within that, Dublin is our biggest business, doing about 31.5 million passengers. So that's our business. I'll show you some numbers from 2017. Our turnover was up 8% in 2017 in our airport business. The key number here is, you won't be able to see it at the back, but it's our EBITDA is 271 million. That was up 9.5%. So 271 million EBITDA. That gives us the muscle to invest in future growth. And I suppose what it does say is, as we try and reset this relationship, I don't want you to take the impression that we're loaded with money and there's lots of money to be made off us, although we do obviously want everybody to make a profit in the supply chain. But what it does say is we're big and we're profitable and we can pay our bills. Okay, so I do believe that if we do things differently and we can work differently with you, we could be a great partner, because month in, month out, you know, we're a strong financial business. And you can see that on the next slide here, which basically says our credit rating is A. So we have an investment grade credit rating. We have a very, very solid balance sheet across the group, and we're diversified so we can withstand a relative amount of shocks in the system. And I'll just show you some numbers from Dublin Airport, which is essentially what we're talking about here today. Dublin Airport, 86% of all traffic in and out of this country goes through Dublin Airport. So it's by far the biggest airport. Cork is the second biggest airport, which we obviously run as well. But Dublin Airport, 31.5 million people went through Dublin last year. It was up 6%. So it's growing strongly, and clearly the airport moves with the economic cycle. We fly all over the world, and we have a flight now, and many of you will have been on these flights. There's a flight now to the US every 40 minutes. Every 40 minutes, there's a flight going to the US between 6 a.m. and midnight. Now, actually, as you know, the flights are clustered more in the morning time, but on average, there's one going every 40 minutes. There's a flight going to the UK every 9 minutes throughout the day. So Ireland has incredible connectivity, and as if you remember from your primary school, if you remember the globe that used to sit on your primary school teacher's desk, if you think about where Europe is and you think about where the US is, that great circle route, you always have to fly over Dublin to get to the US. And so with the changes in aircraft technology, Ireland is becoming strategically more and more important, because what it means is that narrow-bodied aircraft, so the 737 MAX or the 321 Neos, which are made by Airbus, essentially you can fly people from Europe into Dublin on a narrow-bodied aircraft, like what Ryanair use, and then you can fly them across to the US. And so we are in a very important and strong strategic location, and I think that's important for this room, because Ireland is obviously susceptible to shocks, but I think what we're trying to do is diversify a business so that we can withstand a greater level of shocks because we have greater reach in what we're doing. And so you see these shocks here happening. This is the traffic forecast, and again, apologies at the back of the room, but essentially what you see is growth very strong until 2008, then obviously we had the downturn, and then it rapidly coming back. Why is that important? Well, in the last 5 years, our traffic has grown 50%, so that's big numbers. But guess what happened, and you all remember this well, is that after the economic downturn in 2008, 2009, we turned off the investment. So as a business, we turned off the investment. And now the business is getting squeezed, it's full. And I'm sure many of you get very frustrated because you're sitting on the ground, waiting to take off. The whole thing is just full. And the big learning, obviously, for DAA, and I think for the department as well that we report into, is that you can't, in this sector, the aviation sector, because it's so infrastructure heavy, and you just can't turn it off and then turn it on and turn it off. And if you do that, you'll miss the next cycle. So we're in a growth cycle here, but unfortunately, we didn't invest when we needed to. And so now we're investing heavily. And again, I think this is an important message for this room, which is, look, I can't guarantee anything. But I can certainly say where our mind is, that irrespective of what happens in the next economic cycle, we have to push on and we have to invest, because the bounce back is so quick. So as I said, 50% increase in traffic in the last 5 years, and yet we didn't do the investment in infrastructure that we should have. So when you're thinking about your portfolio of where your businesses are going to be in the next coming years and who you want to partner with, we'd be saying to you very strongly, think about us in your portfolio. Because if there is another economic downturn, we'll keep on investing, because we need to keep on investing, because the lessons have been learned. And the fact is that we're trying to diversify a business so that we're much more dependent on Europe than just the Irish economy, i.e. bringing people in from Europe into Dublin and then across the Atlantic. So becoming a major hub. And that's a picture of our airport in, call it 10 years' time. But essentially, we need to gear up 40 million and 45 million passengers. So we're at 31 now. We need to push again, and we need to push quickly. And that's why we'd like to partner with all of you. We've already started, so we're already building our second runway. There's a lot of work going on that already. Actually, it's our third runway. It's our second parallel runway. And we've partnered with FCC and Roadbridge, and it's going very well at the moment. We're trying to do things very differently. But the next worker package that Larry and Brian will take you through is all around the terminals, piers, aprons. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and that's essentially the 1.7 billion that I was referring to. So look, these are the things you've said. We shove all the risk on you. We're slow to make decisions. It's hard work. It's hard to get your employees on site. Airside is difficult. You can't get the badging. If you're keeping people waiting for badges, the risk is all on you. All of this sort of stuff. And we recognize, Larry and Brian and I recognize, that if we don't do things differently, you're not going to work with us. You're not going to partner with us. You're going to go elsewhere. And we don't want that. We need your help. So we've listened. The guys will take you through this in much more detail. But for example, in Brexit, we have loaded so much of the risk back on you. The contract is one-sided. Clearly that's not going to work. So we want to take a fresh approach on how we work together in terms of the contracts around Brexit and the risk. Collaborating to get you airside. It's really hard to get airside. Okay? So Larry will talk you through what we're going to do there in terms of ease of getting your team badged up, consolidation centres to get equipment on site, etc. So lots of work going on there, and we'll talk to you about that in more detail. But we want you front and centre, and there's a big programme of works here. We've got everything from smaller stuff in the sort of tens of millions or 10 million sort of stuff, right up to a couple of hundred, 300 or 400 million packages of work. Well, probably 200 will be the main packages. So we would really like it to be led by Irish firms. But notwithstanding that, we think that in some of these packages, it might make sense to work with some of the international partners that you have out there or that you know of. And we're doing that with Roadbridge and FCC, and it's, as I said, it's working very well. So we'd be very supportive of that. And essentially, my last slide is we're going to try and take a very new approach, and we'll talk you through this in more detail. We want to give you greater visibility of our work. So if you're going to work with us, we want to be much more transparent, so you can see exactly what we're doing, how we're doing it, when we're doing it, so you can manage your supply chains around that. New forms of contracts, particularly around risk, and new frameworks around that. So where the risk lies, we want to do that differently, and we'll share with you that further. Risk allocation and the contract types we're using, partnership frameworks, and early decision making. So we have a new approach. Clearly, actions speak louder than words. I do recognize that, but I would say, as you're thinking about your portfolio of works over the next 3 to 5 years, we would really ask that you think differently about us, because we need to think differently about how we run our business. Or we won't get to 40 million. We won't run one of Europe's really great airports if we don't do things differently. And we're acknowledging that it hasn't always been as simple as we would have liked it to be with us, but we're adopting a new approach. We'd like to share that with you.